Now, what's that expression? Life is a roller coaster? I think that was a song by Ronan Keating, that singer from that Irish band. Anyway, essentially, we've had a very turbulent couple of weeks here at Owl Adventures. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did put out an Owl Diary video where I talk about all the things I'm excited about in 2025. And nothing's changed. I am still very excited about those things. And some of those things are starting to happen. So I'm going to give you a bit of an update in this video. But along with that, we've also had various things go wrong. 3 things essentially that have gone rather wrong, 3 negative things, but really there are silver linings when it comes to almost everything in life. I do believe that. I always can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always have this kind of thing built into me that when something bad in my life happens, I kind of automatically start thinking of what good could come out of it down the line. It's maybe a self-protection function I've got, I don't know. One of my friends says I have a very healthy brain, and maybe that's true, I don't really know. Now, the first thing that happened, which wasn't great, was a staff member, full-time, decided they were going to leave the team. They resigned just at the very end of December, actually, and at first we thought, oh no, we've got all these bookings we need to service. So a bit of a context, this person started only a few months before, they got into the job, they were doing really great actually, great personality, really great with the customers, but just not really passionate enough about the birds of prey, and they kind of admitted that themselves. They saw how excited the volunteers and other team members got when it came to the birds of prey, falconry, talking about birds of prey, etc., and just thought, well, I don't really have the same, and sort of decided it wasn't for them. So we wished them well. And because they were within their probation period, if you like, they didn't have to give any notice. So very suddenly we had to ring up various bookings and move them around and things like that and cover what we could. So I had to then go back on a bit more operations. One of the other full-timers took on a bit more work, and we got through it. And it leads me on actually to the next thing which has happened. And in the thumbnail, there's a photograph which gives it away. So one of my team members was driving the newest leased van that we've got. And only about 3 days before the next van arrived, they had an accident, unfortunately. It was a 3-car pile-up on the M11. Yes, they were going a bit too close to the vehicle in front. 2-second rule at all time, please, everybody. And unfortunately, as the vehicle in front had a metal bar across the front there, it really smashed in the bonnet. Now, I was, whilst dealing with this on the phone, trying to get my kids to their various dance lessons and things like that. I'm logging on to get the insurance policy. I've got my team member on the side of the road with the police trying to get the policy number from me, and all that was going on at the same time while I'm packing my bag to head down south for some very important meetings, of which the results I'll tell you shortly. So it was all a bit stressful. I had to pay £600 to have a recovery vehicle bring the van and the team back up to Yorkshire, 4-hour drive, and it was then sat outside my property for a number of days while I was down south and the weekend came, and then finally we got onto the weekdays. I was able to deal with it. In fact, I have just this morning been speaking to the insurance company, and they have, from the description, decided it's a write-off. It's leaking fluid out of the engine. The thing is, it's a brand new van. It's only got 12,000 miles on the clock, but the damage, or rather the repair to that damage, would cost so much the insurance company would rather just pay for it in one go. So it's going to be collected later this week. We've already towed it to the garage, so it's out of the way of my street. All the neighbours looking into it and thinking, oh, because it's a real mess. Now, luckily the driver was completely uninjured and the birds were okay in the back. The travel boxes we have are really very good, very professional, and if the car or the vehicle suddenly stops, they don't have far to go and they can easily withstand a little bouncing around the box, and that's something we can be very confident about. Now, when I went down on my tour, as it were, down south, did a few care homes and things, I also had a meeting at an animal farm, kind of a high school, I should say, with an animal course set up as part of it, and they had their own little farm on site, and they are happy for us to house our birds there free of charge, so we can service the bookings in that area. That's a good 3.5 hours down south. That's a fantastic location. Hopefully we're going to get that set up for around March. It's not been 100% confirmed yet, but it's about 90% going to go ahead, so we're really pleased about that. But before that, we're going to be setting up a hub down in Southampton. I will reveal exactly where very soon on this channel. It's actually at an attraction so a place down south where you can come and see some of our birds. And same sort of thing, they've agreed to have, it won't cost me anything, might pay a little bit for maintenance, but otherwise it's kind of free rent to house our birds, which can service all of the local bookings, and it can get into London from there very easily as well, only an hour or so away. So just a perfect location as a hub, as a southern hub. So that whole southern hub thing, one of the biggest things I've ever done in my career as a falconer, is starting to come true. It's starting to happen, and we're planning the build week now. Later on in February, we're going to really get onto that. I'm so excited about it, really. Storm here, or is it Athena? Hold on, let me check. It is Athena. Athena's trying to join in with the conversation here. I will feed her in a moment or two. She's just asking for food, essentially. She's one of our steps eagles. So the other thing that's been great in the last couple of weeks is every time we've gone and done another school or another care home, we're doing probably about 8 or 9 brand new care homes. I don't mean the care homes are brand new, I mean they're new to us. New care homes a week, and every single time we leave they say, we're going to book you again. Some of them book again straight away. There's even one that's going to have us every single month, and that was one that I did myself. It was down near Slough, in the sort of northwest area of London there. And I actually took some small owls, some cute owls, and I took an eagle, I think it was Athena, it was, and showed them an eagle, talked about an eagle, and they loved everything. But they said, actually, what we love the most is the barn owl, the little owls, the cuter, smaller things for handling, bit of indoor flying, as a therapy for the residents in the care homes. They just thought that was the best part. So that's something we'll be concentrating on. So we're continuing to grow our customer database. It's going really well in that respect, just as I said it would do. And of course, as soon as we get a hub set up, we need to ensure that that falconer that we train has got 5 days a week work kind of around that area pretty much throughout the year. So really important that we build up the customers now, so when we get the hubs in place, we're good to go. Now, the last part of this video now is going to move to another location, one which you may be familiar with, especially if you've been watching our channel for quite some years. You'll have seen us film at this location quite a lot, and I have some very important news from that very location to tell you now. The York Museum Gardens. This is the place where we've been doing a static bird of prey display, as you may already have seen. I know some of my viewers here have actually come to see us in the gardens before over the years. We've actually been operating a static handling display here for 11 years. If we were here this year, it'd be the 12th year, but this is the thing. The people at the top, who've part of the York Museums Trust, have decided they want to go in a different direction and they're not going to have us back. So we were hoping to come back and operate at least on the peak days here and continue to fly the birds here and things like that, but unfortunately not, but that's okay. We've got lots of other opportunities and we're going to be looking at those. But the thing is, 11 years is such a long time. We've got so many memories here. We've flown so many different birds of prey here as well. Lots of different hawks, falcons on this lawn here as well, and owls, of course. In fact, we've definitely had an owl asleep in this tree. Oh, and this tree. And this tree here. Definitely had an owl asleep in this tree. And this one, this tree, that one, yeah, you get the idea, pretty much everything. And if I turn this camera ever so slightly, you'll see the corner of the museum itself up there. Now that is where I once had to get onto the roof. I don't think I was meant to be on there, but one of the staff let me up. We had to go up some stairs and an outside ladder type thing, because one of my falcons had flown over about a quarter of a mile over the city of York there. I could see it on the phone where it was, but it couldn't see me from the ground floor, of course, because of the height of the buildings. So we got on the roof, swung the lure, and it came flying over and caught it. Quite a cool moment, actually. Over the years, we've had absolutely millions of people come by and see the birds here, but essentially we've had quite a lot of people who come regularly, including certain tour guides, so they now aren't going to be able to come in and talk about the birds. We've also missing out now on the volunteers who come. I'm sure we'll find other opportunities for them to work with us, but from the animal colleges in particular, doing their qualification, is to come here and get their hours in for their qualification, learning how to handle the birds of prey, learning how to fly them, weight management, all that kind of thing. And of course the regulars who come in on a regular basis. In October last year, when we were last here, we moved up to a slightly different area. In fact, just this area where there's a bit of grass here, and the next to the museum there, and we normally sort of further down into the depths of the garden, and that's because they had some other attractions and we just had to make room, and it meant we weren't as obvious. And the amount of people who came up to me and said, oh, I had to ask where you were, I couldn't find you. It was really quite a surprise how many people came here on a regular basis to see us, even if it's once a year, travelling from wherever they were in the world. We've had people come over to the gardens from America and claim they've come over just to see the owls. I want to believe that is what they were doing. So it is a real shame for those people, and there aren't many venues in this particular city left like this where we could operate such a display, unfortunately, although we are looking at some of the venues and seeing what we can maybe do in certain weeks of the year, because the tourism here is just incredible. People from all around the world come and visit York, of course. Now, if this had happened 18 months ago, I would have been really distraught, because it's been the lifeblood of my business since I started. I started all the way back in 2011 in what we call the Coppergate Centre. We had 2 years there. In 2013 we were in a churchyard there, and then 11 years in the gardens here, becoming very established. But because I've been growing the business, because I've been innovating, and I do say if you don't innovate you evaporate, well, this is the most tangible sort of example of that. If I hadn't gone out and got more private bookings, if I hadn't gone out and got more flying shows, if I hadn't gone UK wide and started these hubs that we're currently setting up around the country, and didn't buy the wedding business, for example, then I would be really quite concerned. But luckily we're going to be okay, because we have all these other eggs in these other baskets. And this is the thing, you never really want one big customer in any business, which in many respects this is what this was, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to grow it further and see what other opportunities we could get. Now, you would like to think, wouldn't you, that being here 11 years, if they decided, the senior team who run the place, that they didn't want to have birds of prey on site anymore, they would call me in for a chat, or at least give me an official email. Oh no, none of that. What I got last year was some rather vague messages saying they want to offer something different. They kind of said they want to give the grass a break over the winter, so they wouldn't have us here in the winter. It suggested they'd have us back at some point. And it was only very recently, this January, when they finally said, actually, yeah, we can't accommodate you. There was a lady in the events team who did try and get us in a bit, maybe on some weekends, but unfortunately they said, no, we can't do it. In fact, I'm looking across now where the birds used to be. I'll take a picture in a second, and they've got an RSPB tent and a little kind of coffee horse box thing on where we would normally set up throughout most of the year. I feel like, and I know money is an issue with these trusts, that they're probably trying to have something big and better in here where we were set up, that's going to pay them a lot more money, a bit like the winter events. They have a big tent called the Thor's Teepee come in, and it makes them a lot of money. And over here by the Abbey, they had a music festival earlier this year. They also have the York Proms here. God, that's another memory as well. For a number of years we used to do the York Proms, so we used to do a flying show at 7 o'clock, and then the band would kick off at 7:30. So we used to do a little 20-minute thing, and then you'd have a sea of people. Of course, there's still a bit of snow here at the minute. A sea of people across here, all having picnics. They'd set up a big stage in front of the steps you can see just there, and we used to come out and fly birds. And I remember 2018, we had Bobby, the little tri-bird falcon, who used to fly really, really high, and in the summer months he used to go so high you couldn't see him, sometimes over 3,000 feet high. But on this occasion we flew him up, because it was the evening, it wasn't as warm, they didn't have the same thermals to climb, and he got to about 400 feet, and when he came in and stooped across whatever it was, 2,000 people, what a moment that was. The crowd gasped, and it was just amazing. And it's memories like that that I will treasure. It's memories like that that when I'm very, very old and unable to get out, and I'm in my care home and I'm telling all the carers the stories of what I've done in my life with birds of prey flying at different events and so on, they're probably going to think, God, this guy's got a wild imagination. So that is it, unfortunately, for the York Museum Gardens, certainly for the foreseeable future. They did say they'd love to work with us again in the future. Maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. If I find anything out very interesting about this, I'll certainly let you know. But yes, if you were hoping to come back and see us here, then unfortunately not. What I will do is put on YouTube and our social media very soon a list of all the events we're doing, the flying shows. They are coming in now. So in a little while, once we've got a few in the bag, I'll list them and I'll add all the new ones that come up. So you've got all this opportunity to see us, not just here in Yorkshire, but all around the UK at different events. And we are really looking forward to that. Right then, it's been not the sort of owl diary I would have liked to have done, but actually on that point, in fact, if you do want to go back and watch some of the old owl diaries, a lot of them were filmed here in the gardens, where we're flying hawks onto the tower over there, or we're flying barn owls up the hill, all that kind of thing. So it definitely is worth having a look at some of those videos, because there's some really interesting stuff there. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for your indulgence. Thanks for watching.